Test, test.
Do you wanna?
Oh, okay. One more time?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. One more time. Welcome to Court Reporter Confidential.
A place to talk about all things court reporting, including industry news, technology, best practices, and personal experiences from professionals in the field. Well, thank you for joining me. This
Thanks
is
for inviting
Mary
me.
Pierce, one of my colleagues, and very well respected. I'm sort of traveling in your footsteps. So, Mary, how long have you been a court reporter?
I am in my 43rd year
Amazing.
as a court reporter. Got my license after taking the exam in June of 1983.
Nice. I won't tell you how old I was then.
I don't think you were born yet.
I was, but barely. So you were a freelance reporter. Have you always been freelance? Have you ever worked for the courts?
No, actually, the template back in 1983, if you wanted to go into deposition work, which is what I wanted to do, um, the template was completely different. The landscape, freelancers were rare. I would say less than 3% of the deposition reporters were freelancers back in 1983.
Oh, I see.
There were big agencies and then some little pocket ones, but I went to work for Snyder Hathcote up on Wilshire Boulevard. My dad had been an attorney and he knew Kent Snyder. And my sister, who also became a court reporter, we went up while we were still in school. We were invited to lunch and we met him. And so we both ended up going to work for one of the three largest agencies in Los Angeles City at the time.
So as an employee, but you've never. No.
As an independent contractor.
Okay. So
We
that's
were-
freelance, I feel like. But you're just saying you were kind of committed to that one firm.
It was you were a staff reporter.
Yeah.
I never worked for another agency. I think in the 9 years I worked for that agency, I took maybe one or two outside jobs because that outside firm called the agency I worked for and said, "Do you have anybody?"
Right, right.
And so, yeah, in 9 years, I took two outside jobs. You were a staff reporter,
Okay.
and that worked all on seniority. Whoever
Mhm.
had been at the agency the longest was the number one reporter, and they got first pick. And I think I started at number 38, and I got all the stuff nobody else wanted.
Yep. I know that game. But you have never worked in court full time, correct?
Not full time, never.
Okay. So you've always done depots, hearings, whatever. I mean, depots, arbitrations, that kind
Yeah,
of thing.
didn't want to listen to what everybody did to each other,
Yeah.
which is, the bulk of court work is criminal
Mm.
law, and I just didn't think that I would handle that very well.
Yeah. Yeah. Excellent. And so I understand you own your own agency. When did you start that?
I started my agency January 1st, 2002. I worked for the first agency for 9 years. Around that time, contracting was really taking a foothold, and we tried to talk to the owner and get him to be more responsive to the changes, and he just didn't want to do anything.
Mm.
So a group of us left and formed. I went with the owners of the spinoff agency. I stayed with them for 9 years. And at that point, I was bringing in a lot of their work and it wasn't being recognized nor appreciated. And I gave them 2 years to make me a partner. They didn't. I left.
There you go.
It was the best thing because I told them they had 2 years to make me a partner.
Mm.
And I never wanted to have my own agency. So many technological advances have come along, like cell phones and iPads and Wi-Fi, that it's a lot easier
Yeah.
and more convenient to run an agency than what you had to do back in 1983 or even 1991.
Yeah. Yeah. I can imagine.
So yeah, I started my own agency. It was the best thing I was ever forced to do.
Love that. So you own Pantera
That's
Court
correct.
Reporters, yes. And you're also very involved in associations now. Like me, you didn't start off very involved, but since then you have become, and you're involved in the DRA with me, Deposition Reporters Association, right? You were president, 3 years ago, 4 years ago?
I ascended to the presidency when the president at the time the pandemic hit was Erica Shokas. She moved out of state about 6 months, 7 months into her tenure, and the DRA board felt that the president should live in California. So I moved up earlier. So that was maybe September-ish of 2020,
Yep.
and I remained president until whenever the convention was in 2022, somewhere Mayish, maybe.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I did about 19 or 20 months as president.
Yep. Excellent. And that was when I got involved just shortly before that. So I think you were my first president or second. Anyways. And then since then you've also served on our National Association's committee, which is what I want to delve into as well. It was
Okay.
called the Strong Committee, and now they've spun off and called Jeopardizing Justice. Yes.
That is the new
Yeah.
title of the group that formerly known as the Strong Committee, which
Yeah.
was disbanded basically by
Yeah.
the incoming president. So we thought that the work was too important to, and the institutional and informational knowledge that had been gathered by this incredibly dedicated group. I had only been a member the last 2 years, but I believe they started around 2019 with Sue Terry
Mhm.
spearheading that. She had just been the president of NCRA. So I think she formed the idea of having that committee when during her presidency. And um,
Yeah.
boy, what an incredible group of court reporters on that committee.
And tell me what the committee is all about, is and was, and
It started back in the 2019 era to advocate and educate consumers of court reporting products about what at the time was really just digital, digital recorders, um, sitting in to a proceeding in place of a credentialed or licensed or professional court reporter, and in many instances, telling those consumers that it's the same thing. It's the same thing when we professionals, um, you're never going to get us to agree it's the same thing because it's not the same thing. Our level of training and experience and what we can do on the spot in the room cannot be matched by a digital. So they basically wanted to make sure everybody, not only that they could reach as many consumers as possible, but as many court reporters to arm them with the information to let them inform consumers as well as to the difference in the products and in California, particularly the high stakes of not using a professional to begin with because of our admissibility standards under the Code of Civil Procedure.
Yeah. Yeah. So so you learned a lot being on that committee,
I
right?
did learn a lot. By the time
Yeah.
I got on it, now AI transcriptions were
Mhm.
becoming more common. And so their focus, because now digital recorders, their product, their recording basically can be run through an AI or ASR platform and they turn out a transcript that way. Now, whether it has human oversight afterwards or not, it's almost never by a professional and certainly never a professional that was in the room and has chain of custody from start to finish of the product, which makes a difference.
It does.
I still do almost all of my own proofreading. And when I do that, I catch things that I think, even if I had a proofreader, they might not catch that. I was in the room and that word works here, but that's not what they said. And I know that's not what they said because I was in the room.
Yeah, it makes a huge difference.
So,
Yeah, chain of custody issues, as well as you heard of a nightmare story of an entire chunk of a transcript being missing, correct? Tell us about that.
yes, that was, I got a call from Evelyn Ma, who uh, had Abrams Ma and Kaw for a long time. She just recently retired and turned her firm over to a licensee, the proper thing to do, in my opinion. But Evelyn is not above any task, even though she was owner of one of the largest licensee owned agencies in the state, definitely in Orange County. Um, the office was busy. The phone rang. The owner picked up the phone and answered it. It was an attorney by the name of Melissa Buckman, and when she realized who she was talking to, she relayed a scenario because she wanted to understand how this could have happened. So basically,
And Melissa Buckman was an attorney.
she's a family law attorney in Beverly Hills, law offices of Melissa Buckman, and her client's deposition had been taken in a family law case where her female client was trying to get a DVRO, a domestic violence restraining order, The deposition happened early into the pandemic.
Mm.
So it was Melissa's potentially her first Zoom deposition.
Okay.
Now, the deposition officer that turned out to be a digital recorder was in the law office with the attorney taking the deposition. Melissa and her client appeared by Zoom, so she did not see that this individual did not have a stenographic machine.
Mm.
So she didn't know to ask. She'd never heard of such a thing happening. So apparently she certainly isn't aware that she ever had one before that. But when they got the transcript, there was some testimony that her client said, wait a minute, that's not what I answered to that. And where's all this other stuff that and Melissa thought, well, yeah, you know what? I took some notes because I thought, gosh, next time I take a those are good questions. I'm gonna write that down. And none of that was in the transcript.
Whoa.
So they challenged it to the other side. They even contacted the national firm that had provided the transcript and said, there's something wrong here. And everybody told them they were wrong. The transcript is flawless. There's nothing wrong with it. The
Mm.
client would not let it go. She kept pestering and pestering, pestering. In the meantime, Melissa had to go back before the judge. She challenged the transcript to the judge.
Mhm.
He wasn't very receptive to that discussion. By the time they went back for the final adjudication of the request for the DVRO, in Melissa's mind, the judge had already made up his mind that
Mm.
they lacked credibility because they were trying to challenge what he believed to be a properly certified transcript.
Because people do that. They
People do that because they
Mhm.
don't know what to look for on the cover nor the certificate.
Right.
If you don't have a license there,
Right.
a license of a CSR number in those 2 pages, it must be listed by a licensee on the cover in the certificate, the license number. If it's not there, it does not meet the admissibility standards under CCP 2025 340M,
Mhm.
which requires a stenographic transcript for presentation in front of a court.
Right.
So they lost that application for the DVRO because, in Melissa's view, they had lost credibility with the judge, even though right before that hearing,
Mm.
this national firm said, oh, you know what? Actually, there are 55 pages missing from your transcript. Based on the length of the transcript, my supposition is that this is before AI was so prevalent. My supposition is that they farmed this out to probably 5 different transcriptionists,
Mhm.
many of whom could have been overseas. That's where the bulk of these recordings are sent these days. You can get lower wage workers to do
Mhm.
the transcription. And 55 pages represented about 20% of the transcript.
Mm.
So that's why I speculate that one transcriber's chunk did not get integrated in the final product.
Yeah.
And by then it was too late. She didn't get her protective order. I hope she's okay.
No kidding. Yeah. Very, very scary.
It is.
So many problems with that. I mean, when you're talking about overseas transcriptionists, what about HIPAA? Do these countries have HIPAA standards, have HIPAA rules, privacy? I mean, that's the most scary to me. And I think a lot of attorneys and paralegals and secretaries who aren't vetting their court reporting firm probably do not realize that that's on them as well. Their responsibility to their client to make sure that all that information is protected, and they might be unwittingly giving it away to who knows who.
Who knows who? And that's very, very true. First off, there's absolutely no regulatory board or other authority that would discipline anyone who isn't
Mm.
licensed
Right.
to produce a transcript. There's no authority.
So if I have a complaint about it, who am I going to go to? There's no, yeah.
You can go to the beach and pound sand,
Yeah.
but
Exactly.
there's no one that's going to do anything to them.
Right.
Now, you could maybe file something against the agency that produced it, but if it was in the process of a digital recorder and a transcription thereof that product, the CRB isn't even going to do anything about that unless
Mm.
there was, some sort of fraud or misrepresentation in the transcript, like if they used a protected title to
Mhm.
try to pass off.
Meaning they called themselves a court reporter and they weren't.
And they weren't. Yeah.
Similar to how I can't say, oh, I'm a doctor and try to treat
Yeah.
somebody.
Yeah, they
could
can't
get
even
in-
say I'm a digital reporter or a
Right.
digital court reporter. They cannot use the term reporter in any iteration.
Right.
Iteration.
And that's a newer law over the past
Yeah.
couple of years. Yeah.
But even if you found the most honest person overseas to do this transcription, is there any threat to it being hacked in the transmission process? Is it going up to the cloud? How safe is that cloud? I
Right.
mean, the FBI was hacked. I
Mm.
mean, come on. There's some huge corporations that likely have better protection than your average cloud hookup, um, and they've been hacked.
Yeah.
The California State Bar Association's records were hacked. So, how safe do you think this transmission is that may be sent by a company that took months to realize 55 pages were missing from a transcript? You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
the internal controls and checks and balances, I will say, may not be what they should be.
Well, yeah.
So, and then, yeah, again, I doubt that anything overseas where these transcripts are going has anything equivalent of HIPAA protections.
Right.
And it's not just HIPAA. What about your um, intellectual property cases, your patent cases, your
Mhm.
pharma cases?
Yep.
All that stuff. There's some very sensitive information in those. And how safe is that?
Right.
So,
And there are a lot of personal questions that get asked in these. I mean, sometimes they'll even allow them to put their social security number on the record, their birthday, their name, their address. I mean, it's crazy. So,
really, all you need is the name and the birth date of
mm,
birth. That's all you need to. I
well,
mean, if you want to give me all your other personal information, I will write it down because, I have nefarious intent,
mhm.
perhaps. And, but, I, I don't even put my real birth date on Facebook
Yeah.
because I don't want people to, I'm not going to hand you all the information
Right.
that makes it easier to steal my identity. But now with the recordings that go over there, now you're subject to, if someone takes that recording and shares it or intercepts it or somehow gets a hold of it, now they can clone your voice.
Mm.
So they can call you when you're a grandma and your grandson's on the phone saying, "Oh, they just took me and they're not going to give me back unless you give them this much money." Well, he's actually on a camp out with the Boy Scouts,
Right.
but that voice is his
Yeah.
because they captured it. So, I mean, we know these things go on right now today. So, but potentially, if it's a video recorded transmission, now they've got your biometrics. They can open your car because now they've got a picture of your face. Um,
Scary.
it's very scary.
Yeah. So what I want to get into next is a lot of our attorney friends are being told that these people have certifications, but we want to be very clear that a 6-week program to get an and I shouldn't even say the name, huh?
No, I don't believe in saying names. I mean,
Yeah.
I know who did that 55-page blunder.
Who was it again? He who shall not be named.
Yeah. And I've been tempted sometimes to say the biggest name but like I like keeping it vague and I just say national agency.
Because a lot of people say, "Well, I don't use them," but then they use someone who's just as bad.
Yeah, and if you just say one of the national agencies,
Then they go, "Wait, is that
they're
my?"
like, yeah, well, because it could be any of them.
Mm-hmm. Right. It really could.
It really could be any of
Yeah.
them.
So, what would you say to attorneys who are being told that their deposition officer is certified or that they have a certification? What if,
It's not a certification that has any value, certainly not in California.
right?
Now, my certification, I'm a certified shorthand reporter. That license has been issued by the state of California
Mhm.
under the purview of the Department of Consumer Affairs. The Court Reporter Board is under the Department of Consumer Affairs. So I am subject to discipline, all the requirements and
Mhm.
laws and things. Um, I'm subject to discipline if I violate them or abuse them.
So you have a license,
I have a license.
not just a certification from a 6-week
Right.
little
I
training
am a
program.
certified shorthand reporter, so I suppose you could say I
Mhm.
have a certification because the license implies that.
Right.
But it is a license issued by the state of California.
Yeah.
And the certificates that deposition officers they have a notary. Now
Mhm.
that's issued by the state, but all that does is empower them to administer the oath. But these certificates that digital recorders earn might be a stretch of the definition of earn, But my understanding is there are weeks of training that go into
Hmm.
achieving that certificate. That certificate is issued by an association that has no governmental oversight authority whatsoever.
Hmm.
Um, I don't even know if they're for profit or just associated with for profit entities, but that the licensure or the certification rather has no value in California.
Right. And if I'm an attorney, I don't know this. I don't know
No,
the
you don't know
distinction,
this. Yeah.
I mean, I liken it to, so I'm a business owner. I own a firm, and when I go to get a new website, I'm always astounded how much it costs. And I'm like, for what? Like, you just put up some pictures and put the words on the page? Like, how complicated could that be? I have no idea the back end, all the coding, what has to go on. And I feel like that's kind of our field, our profession is, they don't understand. They're like, just type it up. That's easy enough. And it's really kind of way more complicated than they understand. And just because they don't understand, it's not their purview. Like, I don't understand what all goes into all of their legal, behind the scenes
Yes.
strategies. I mean, and they deserve to be paid for that, and they have a knowledge base. And so I think,
And it took them a long time to gain that knowledge base,
right.
to perfect that the sophistication level of a really good website is, I went through one of the you can build your own website things. So I have a website. It's not sophisticated. There aren't like tabs where there's not links there,
Mhm.
which, people can probably pay for a transcript by credit card through your
Mhm.
website. You can't do that on mine. Mine is very basic.
Yeah.
It's just you can find me and you can send me an email. You can, contact me through
A
the website.
facsimile.
Yeah, basically, yes, I have my uh
Yeah.
oh gosh, what are those old thing? Anyway,
Carbon
uh
paper.
no, 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 the chisel and the hand.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
there was I can't remember it, but when I was in court reporting school, a place I worked for, it
Mm.
was like a text, not a text, but anyway, it was a machine that like would send overseas transmission.
Oh,
I can't remember the name of it, but it was
Morse
like,
code.
just about, just about. We were partners with a Swedish company,
Mm.
and this thing would vibrate
Oh
all
boy.
over the floor when the transmission was coming through. Um,
We've
and
come a long way, but yeah,
but the level of, and I could even equate it to the time that you've competed in the national speed
Mhm.
contest. I apparently have developed test anxiety. I'm a terrific reporter, and I take some really tough medical experts with attorneys that know exactly what they're talking about. So you can go at a clip. And I get it all, but for some reason, someone says, okay, the test begins now, and my hands start shaking.
Right.
But the level of skill of someone who ends up on the stage with a medal around their neck, that's a
Yeah.
whole lot of, and someone who's a really good real-time reporter, they have the same license I have, but they've taken the time and
Mm.
dedication to hone that skill to a level that someone who's qualified to take the deposition hasn't like really honed that skill the same.
Right.
So people want to understand, well, how come I have to pay so much for my real time feed? Because of the time and
Mm.
investment in product that person took to hone that skill for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
They have the right to be compensated more for having spent all that time and energy and money, quite frankly.
Right. Yeah, and I feel for litigants because we are not cheap all the time, and neither are attorneys.
Right.
Um, but so I understand wanting to get a deal and wanting to cut corners, but ultimately it ends up costing them, or could end up costing them, so much more, because you hire someone to record it, then you have to hire someone to transcribe it if you go to trial, and then an appeal, and so assuming you even get a good product, it ends up adding several steps to it, and costing more. So the good news is we have been working really diligently, grassroots efforts, as you know, going to career fairs, drumming up. We're doing all kinds of crazy TikTok videos for all the kids to get them interested in court reporting again. That this is not a dying field. We use technology. It's fun. It's exciting. And so we've gotten tons of people into schools. And also the standards have shifted. Now we have voice writers in our state, as you know, and
Yes, yes, that is. really helping the numbers.
Yeah. And
So
so,
many things are making the numbers going forward um, very promising.
yes,
We anticipate some the numbers have been surging.
yes, they
We
have.
expect a similar percentage increase in surge when the testing format changes next year,
Yep.
when there are waiting lists to still get into some of the schools. As those people test out, spot opens up, someone
Yeah.
new goes sits in that seat. We're trying, as you know, I know that you're trying to get the local community college to start offering a court reporting program.
Yeah.
And
Because so many programs were shut down for various reasons. And we really need the support of our local colleges, our government, our legislature to really encourage. Because what do we have right now? 7 programs in the
7 or 8
entire
in the entire
state?
state of California.
Yes, it's
And there
crazy.
are, because of my work on the Strong Committee, I became aware of um, a couple states where there are no programs at all.
Mm-hmm.
And then students who do want to pursue court reporting are being misled by some of the ads that they find when they do a Google search for court reporting.
Yeah.
They end up being steered towards a program that is really about becoming a digital recorder.
Yeah.
And they find out after they've spent that money that they are not getting the training that they thought they were signing up for.
So in this coming year, in 2025, there's going to be a new testing format.
Yes.
And so it's going to allow for more success, more high success rates in the reporters. And we have, like you were starting to say, I can't remember if we were off the record talking about this, but we have wait lists at our schools. And so we only have 7 or 8 programs in the entire state. We need more programs. So we're trying to get them into community colleges, legitimate, not just 6-week knockoffs, legitimate court reporting programs. And it takes years, these folks are trained very, very well, to be detail oriented, to just be guardians of that record. It's a high standard, and we don't take it lightly. Um, so we expect we've seen, let's see, from 2021 to now, it's been about a 4x increase in the number of passes. So we have a lot of new court reporters coming out of school. We have a lot of students in school, wait lists at some of the programs. So we just need more support from government agencies, for community college programs, from legislators, at all of it. So we're hoping to get, I mean, we're doing all we can, literally
Right.
all we can.
Right.
And it's working, which is great, just from our small efforts. And so we're hoping that with a little support, we can do even more.
Well, and this tight supply, I really don't like the shortage word
Mhm.
because I've never had a job go uncovered, and you have a much larger agency, and I think you've maybe only had 1 or 2.
Right.
So, there are court reporters that are willing to work for agencies that treat them right and care about the product.
Yeah.
But I also think that um, there's a sort of an ancillary benefit from some of the things that have become in the public eye about this. I mean, there was a couple articles in the Los Angeles Times about court reporting shortage. I've heard something on the radio about
Mm,
court reporting shortage. So, you know, there's that old video, the best career you've never heard of is
yeah.
court reporting.
Yeah.
I got into court reporting because my father was a lawyer and he worked with almost exclusively female court reporters. And he thought that's a pretty good job. And he had 2 daughters and they both became court reporters.
But had your dad not been an attorney, you would have
I
never heard about it.
would have never heard about it
Same with,
because I
yeah.
had never gone to court except for a couple times when my dad was in court. And actually, he was in those situations. I don't remember there being a court reporter
Mm,
there because it was like a little hearing on a
mhm,
family law matter. And as you know, there's not always a
mm.
court reporter in family law. But
Yeah.
you had a relative or a neighbor
Yep.
that
Yep.
was a court reporter, right? Yeah.
That's right.
So a lot of times it's not a high profile career choice.
Mhm.
And, you know, it'd be great if we sent something to every high school counselor.
Yeah.
Like, this is a job because, people are finding out that it's a pretty good pay. And, and going back to what you said about we're not cheap. Well, you know what? We also didn't have a pay raise for 10 years.
Yeah.
In fact, I'll tell you that the certified copy charge today is only about 100% increase of what was charged for a certified copy in 1983.
Wow.
that's not a lot of inflation, quite frankly.
Right.
So
My milk has gone up more than that.
yes, it has. Yeah.
My milk. Milk at the grocery store, let's say.
Okay. Yeah, your milk. Can we
The
please
cost
edit
of-
that out? Your milk would be very pricey stuff. Because there's so little of it. No, I'm kidding.
Wrong. But yes, my grocery bill has gone up more than that. Yes, absolutely. So inflation is crazy, and
Yeah.
we've hardly kept up. So yeah. But I'm really encouraged. I'm excited about the number that word is getting out, for whether it's accurate press or not. It's press, right? Good press, bad press, it's all press. And so people are starting to hear about court reporting, and it is turning the tide, and I'm looking forward to it.
We just need more space in schools. We need more
Yep.
schools. I don't know what there used to be, but I know of 2 or 3 schools just in Southern California that closed down in the last, a lot of it around 2008. There
Yeah.
was just some decimation in the schools, and there were some unreasonable expectations if they were court reporting programs through community colleges, like you had to
Yeah.
finish in 2 years. Well, it's not a 2-year program for everyone because it's a test out of each stage program.
More self-paced.
And some people
Yeah.
take, I went to nights. It took me almost 4 years to finish school.
Mm-hmm.
So, and at nights, that's pretty good.
Yeah, it is.
So, but, some people can finish the steno machine and it's quick, like lightning fast in 12 to 14 months.
Mm-hmm.
I think something close to 2.5 years is more common.
Yeah.
But even 2.5 years is better than I did, and they still would not meet the standard requirements at some of the community
Yeah,
colleges.
yeah.
So that expectation needs to be addressed.
Yeah, and that is the conversations I've been having. It's interesting. They have certain boxes of, well, this has to be a 6-month program. This has to be a 2-year program. And so it is hard to fit us into a box. So that does make it tricky. But I'll tell you what, there was such a push for 4-year university degrees for so
Right.
long. And now the tide has shifted a bit with that. And trade schools are becoming more acceptable. And so it's less looked down upon. And now with how 4-year universities to try to get into them and how expensive they are, it's a little
Oh,
absurd right now.
yeah.
So it is a very nice alternative, and one I love, and I know you do too. So
I love court
yeah.
reporting because I like people. I genuinely like people. And I love to hear their stories. And some
Yeah.
of the stories are difficult to hear, some are fascinating. Uh, I take a lot of expert depositions, and I still recall one of the teachers in court reporting school said, "You get paid to listen to experts
And learn.
talk about their field and learn." Yeah.
Yeah.
From with the med mal that I do, I've listened to cancer research doctors talk about the cutting edge treatments that they're working on. And it's fascinating.
Yeah.
And one of the experts I found really fascinating talked about how fire moves through the engine of a vehicle
Ooh.
and how uh, uh, things inside your vehicle can become a projectile in an accident. We we learn little safeguards in our own life.
Mm.
Because I've worked on so many trip and fall cases, I took a report that I prepared about the uplifting curb on my gutter, which is totally a tripping hazard. I took it to the Public Works Department of my city, and they said, "This is the best report I've ever seen." They still didn't fix my curb, but now it's on them. I made you aware of this because, we learned
Yeah.
through our job that if you're the homeowner who has this tripping hazard on your property, but it's on the sidewalk or the curb that belongs to the city, you only get relieved of being a defendant in that case if you make the city aware
Ah.
of that. So once I make them aware of that, I'm not allowed to fix it myself, but at least I can get out of the lawsuit now if someone does trip on my curb.
Yeah.
So it's these little things that you learn by taking somebody's deposition. They're just little pearls for life.
Yeah.
And we got paid to learn something.
That's
That's
cool.
I like that aspect of the job.
Very cool. Well, thank you for sharing all that you have today. I appreciate you coming, and I have learned a lot from you today, actually.
Thanks
I
for
thought
having
I
me.
thought we had said all we could possibly say in the last 2 years, but I've I've learned something. So thank
No, I think we should do it again because I can go on.
you.
But and thank you for doing this and
Mhm.
for being the leader that you've become a phenomenal leader for the state
Thank
and
you.
for deposition reporters and
Oh,
even on the national stage, I think so. Um, I think we've both learned that service to the profession is not only necessary and valuable, but can be very rewarding.
absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you, Steph.